I want to do something today that I do not think any analysis of this conflict has done systematically. I want to build the complete record, not a selective argument, not cherry picked quotes, the complete documented record of every major claim Donald Trump has made about Iran since this conflict began on February 28th, and what actually happened after each claim. I am doing this not to score political points. I am doing this because the American public and the international community watching this conflict deserves to understand the gap between the narrative that has been constructed around this war and the reality that the specific facts reveal. That gap, when you lay it out systematically, tells you something important about where this conflict is heading and whether the deal that ends it will be built on honest assessments or on claims that the record has already disproven. Let me start at the beginning.
Claim 1. Iran had restarted its nuclear program and was developing missiles capable of striking the United States at his State of the Union address on February 24, 2026, 4 days before the war began. Trump told Congress that Iran had restarted its nuclear program and was developing missiles capable of striking the United States. The documented record of this claim is unambiguous. His claims contradicted both his previous claims that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated and U.S. intelligence reports that Iran did not pose any military threat towards the U.S. and needed until 2035 to build such missiles were it to do so. Let me be precise about what that means. Trump said two things simultaneously that cannot both be true. First, Iran's nuclear program was obliterated, a claim he made after previous Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear sites during the 12-day war in June 2025. Second, Iran had restarted its nuclear program and was building missiles capable of reaching the United States by February 2026. If the program was obliterated, it cannot have been restarted in time to produce operational intercontinental ballistic missiles within 8 months. If Iran had operational missiles capable of striking the United States, U.S. intelligence would have confirmed it. U.S. intelligence did not confirm it. U.S. intelligence said Iran needed until 2035 to build such missiles if it chose to do so. The war began on February 28th, 4 days after Trump told Congress something that U.S. intelligence directly contradicted. That is the first entry in the complete record. Claim 2. Iran's nuclear program was obliterated. I want to address this specific claim separately because it most directly contradicts Trump's other claims and has the most significant implications for the current negotiations. Trump said Iran's nuclear program was obliterated. If that claim were true, the entire premise of the February 28th war, preventing Iran from building a nuclear weapon, would be unnecessary. You do not launch a war to prevent something that has already been destroyed. But Iran's enriched uranium stockpile did not disappear when Israeli bombers struck its facilities. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists documented that Iran was using its enrichment program and uranium stockpiles for leverage in international negotiations and was willing to dilute or export its higher level enriched uranium in exchange for sanctions relief. A stockpile that exists for leverage is not an obliterated stockpile. The IAEA, as of February 2026, was unable to verify whether Iran had suspended enrichment or confirmed the status of its uranium stockpile because Iran had informed the agency that normal safeguards were legally untenable and materially impracticable following acts of aggression. The IAEA found no evidence Iran was weaponizing, but could not confirm the stockpile status because the war itself had made inspection impossible. So we have a nuclear program Trump said was obliterated, a uranium stockpile whose current status the IAEA cannot confirm because the war made inspection impossible, and a conflict premised on preventing a program from reaching weapons capability that U.S. intelligence said would take until 2035 anyway. That is the second entry in the complete record. Claim 3. Iran informed America it was in a state of collapse. On April 29, 2026, Trump posted on Truth Social that Iran had informed America it was in a state of collapse. The same day, Brent crude was above $112 per barrel. Iran's oil exports were above pre-war levels because China's shadow fleet had kept them flowing throughout the entire conflict. The IRGC had publicly contradicted Iran's own foreign minister on Hormuz, not the behavior of a collapsing institution, but the behavior of a confident one asserting its authority over the most contested waterway on Earth. The day after Trump's state of collapse claim, Iran's hardline leaders were described by multiple Western analysts as in control and giving every impression that they believed they had the upper hand. CNN's own editorial assessment, published on the same timeline as Trump's collapse claim, stated that Trump had made so many later debunked claims about the Iran war, its purportedly imminent end, and a supposedly overwhelming U.S. victory that it was impossible to evaluate them. That is CNN, the mainstream American news network covering this conflict daily. Its editors could not keep track of the contradictions, not because the network is sympathetic to Iran, it is not, but because the volume of unverified claims had made systematic evaluation impossible. A country in a state of collapse does not have its oil exports above pre-war levels. A country in a state of collapse does not have its IRGC publicly overrule its foreign minister. A country in a state of collapse does not have its officials saying, as they said after the Hormuz fire exchange, "We have not even begun yet." That is the third entry in the complete record. Claim 4. Iran agreed to stop enrichment. On May 4, 2026, Trump told reporters that Iran had agreed to no longer enrich uranium and that the United States would recover and remove past nuclear material. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson Esmaeil Baghaei said on the same day, and I am quoting him exactly, "At this stage, we do not have nuclear negotiations. Iran agreed to stop enrichment. Iran said there are no nuclear negotiations. Both statements cannot be true simultaneously." Iran's documented negotiating position, confirmed by its 14-point proposal submitted through Pakistani mediators, was that the nuclear question should be deferred to a later phase, not addressed immediately, not agreed to, deferred. Iran's position was Hormuz first, nuclear second. That is the opposite of a country that has agreed to stop enrichment. The House of Commons Library documented that America's demand was a 20-year moratorium on Iranian uranium enrichment. Iran's counteroffer was 5 years. A country that has agreed to stop enrichment does not counterpropose 5 years as an alternative to 20. A counterproposal is not an agreement. It is the starting point of a negotiation that has not yet produced an agreement. That is the fourth entry in the complete record. Claim 5. Great progress toward a complete and final agreement. On May 5, 2026, Trump paused Operation Project Freedom, the Hormuz escort operation launched one day earlier, citing great progress toward a complete and final agreement with Iran. On the same day, Iran launched missiles, attack drones, and small boats at American naval vessels. America sank 7 Iranian boats. Iran's top official said America has not even begun yet in the standoff. China was still importing over 1 million barrels per day of Iranian crude, completely unaffected by the American naval blockade. The UAE had been attacked by Iranian drones for the second consecutive day. A cargo vessel in Hormuz was struck by an unknown projectile. The content of the great progress was not specified. No terms were named, no framework was announced, no Iranian official confirmed progress on any specific point of disagreement. The Pakistani mediators who carry messages between the two sides did not publicly confirm any breakthrough. Great progress was claimed 24 hours after America launched a military operation that resulted in live fire being exchanged in the Strait, 7 Iranian boats being destroyed, and an Iranian official warning that the worst of Iran's capabilities had not yet been deployed. That is the 5th entry in the complete record. What the complete record tells you, I want to step back from the individual claims and examine the pattern, because a pattern tells you more than any individual data point. The pattern is this: Trump's claims about Iran have consistently described a trajectory toward American victory and Iranian capitulation that has not materialized in the operational reality. Each claim, the nuclear program is obliterated, Iran is collapsing, Iran agreed to stop enrichment, great progress toward a deal, has been followed not by the confirmation of the claim, but by evidence that contradicts it. I want to be precise about what I am saying and what I am not saying. I am not saying Trump is deliberately lying. I am saying something more analytically important. Trump's claims about Iran reflect a theory of this conflict. Maximum pressure produces rapid capitulation that the specific facts have consistently disproven. The theory was bomb Iran, blockade Iran, apply economic pressure, and Iran will collapse or concede. The reality has been Iran's oil exports above pre war levels because China built the parallel economic architecture that bypasses American sanctions, Iran's IRGC operationally controlling Hormuz, Iran's officials saying, "We have not begun yet," and China's sources telling CNN that Beijing views the conflict as having strengthened its own negotiating position while importing Iranian crude completely unaffected by the American blockade. The theory produced the claims, the reality produced the record. And the distance between those two things is what the American public deserves to understand before Trump boards his plane to Beijing in 8 days. Why the record matters, the China dimension. The Beijing summit is 8 days away. And there is a dimension of the record that makes the summit's outcome deeply uncertain in ways that Trump's public statements have not acknowledged. China is not a neutral party in this conflict. China's shadow fleet has delivered Iranian crude above pre war export levels throughout the American blockade. China's CEPS payment system, the alternative to Western SWIFT infrastructure, processed record transaction volumes during the conflict. China's 1.2 billion barrel strategic reserve insulated Chinese markets from the energy shock that was supposed to create pressure on Beijing to withdraw economic support from Iran. Chinese sources told CNN that Beijing cautiously views the conflict as having potentially strengthened its negotiating position. The situation presents China with what those sources described as a unique opportunity to capitalize on the standoff ahead of what are likely to be difficult midterm elections for Trump, with the president seen as eager to present tangible wins to American voters. America has simultaneously blacklisted a major Chinese petrochemical firm, the largest Chinese refinery yet targeted for purchasing Iranian crude, while asking China to broker peace and push Iran to ease its chokehold on Hormuz. That combination, sanctioning China's oil buyers and asking China for diplomatic help in the same diplomatic cycle, is not a coherent strategy. It is the behavior of a government that has exhausted its primary instruments and is appealing to the party those instruments were designed to pressure. Wang Yi, China's foreign minister, met Araghchi in Beijing on May 6th and pledged to continue assisting in launching peace talks. China is positioning itself as the indispensable broker of a conflict that American pressure created and American sanctions are trying to resolve. That positioning strengthens China's hand at the summit, not America's. The record of debunked claims about Iranian collapse and Iranian agreement has a specific consequence for Beijing. If Trump arrives at the summit claiming great progress, while Xi has just hosted Araghchi and knows what Iran's actual position is, the gap between the claim and the reality will be visible to the most important counterpart in the room. That visibility does not strengthen America's position at the table. What the record does not tell you, I want to be fair. Because fairness is the standard I hold myself to. The complete record of Trump's debunked claims does not tell you that Iran is winning this conflict in any simple sense. Iran has suffered enormously. Its supreme leader was killed on the first day. Its air defenses were significantly degraded. Its nuclear infrastructure was damaged. Thousands of Iranians have died. The Iranian rial has hit record lows. The central bank has warned internally that economic recovery could take 12 years. The record does not tell you that America's military campaign was without effect. The bombing campaign ran for 40 days. It achieved significant operational results against Iran's conventional military capacity. What the record tells you is more specific. It tells you that the theory of this conflict, maximum pressure produces rapid capitulation, has not been validated by the facts on the ground, and a theory that has not been validated by the facts should be revised, not abandoned, revised. A revised theory would acknowledge that Iran has proved more resilient than anticipated, that China's economic architecture has made the maximum pressure strategy less effective than it was designed to be, that the IRGC's control of Hormuz is more durable than the initial campaign anticipated, and that the deal available, the staged framework, Hormuz first, nuclear second, Russia's custodianship mechanism for the uranium, requires accepting something less than unconditional Iranian capitulation. That revised theory applied to the Beijing summit produces a different diplomatic approach than the one Trump has been publicly describing. And the distance between those two approaches, between the claims and the revised theory, is the distance between a deal that can be reached in 8 days and a conflict that continues until the claims align with the reality. The honest account: every American family paying $4.48 per gallon at the pump, every airline employee whose company is under stress because jet fuel prices have risen 50% since February 28th, every sailor among the 15,000 American service members deployed to a strait that is still not commercially open 77 days after the war began. These people are not asking for Iran to be celebrated. They are not asking for America to be condemned. They are asking for an honest account of where this conflict actually stands, not the claim. The record, the complete record tells you Trump has been wrong about Iran every single time on the trajectory of this conflict. The claims have described a victory that has not materialized. The facts have described a stalemate that is heading toward a negotiated settlement in Beijing 8 days from now on terms that will reflect not the claims but the reality. Iran's nuclear program was not obliterated. The state of collapse did not materialize. Iran did not agree to stop enrichment. Great progress has not been publicly confirmed by either party. And China, which built the economic architecture that has sustained Iran throughout the conflict, is now positioned to be the indispensable broker of whatever deal ends it. Watch Beijing, because that is where the complete record and the accumulated claims will finally have to reconcile with each other. And the terms of any deal that emerges will tell you, more clearly than any Truth Social post, which version of this conflict was accurate all along.